is the overall perception ahead of free agency among the people you talk to is the Cardinals are poised to spend big money? Because we've heard that, but you've got to see them cross the finish line. They've never secured a Milton Williams atop a free agency board before. Like it has to be proven that it can be done.
Yeah. They're going to make some noise here. Absolutely. There's no question. They're going to spend. They're going to get better on both offensive and defensive lines coming out of free agency.
We love bringing you guys great insight from our exclusive with Jonathan Gannon last week. Mina Kimes on throughout the regular season. We continue that with NFL insider Mike Garafolo from NFL Network. The Insiders, make sure you follow him on Twitter at Mike Garafolo. And Mike, today your colleague Ian Rappaport put it out there that Trey Hendrickson has been given permission to seek a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals. And we're sitting here, we're looking at the Arizona Cardinals this offseason in need of an edge rusher. Is that a potential fit for Hendrickson, and what would it potentially cost?
Sure. I mean, it's one of the possibilities, I would say, for what the Cardinals are looking to do. The cost, I mean, you're talking about the compensation toward the team. I mean, it's not, I mean, he's already 30, so he's going to be on the other side of 30 when you're getting him. I'm looking at day 2 compensation, day 2 of the draft. So you're talking, second and the third round compensation. It's obviously not going to be day 1. Day 3 feels a little low to me. So it would be that, but then on top of that, you got to pay him. And we know what the numbers are right now with Max Crosby at $35 million. By the time all is said and done, the top of the pass rusher market is going to be at 40. So if I'm Trey Hendrickson, I want to be in the 30s. I don't know if it's comparable for him to say I could be around Max Crosby, but it is certainly in that ballpark. So Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, all going to be pushing that number up to 40. Trey Hendrickson to me is in the 30s when all is said and done.
Mike, we're going to see a lot of movement up front on the defensive line, both maybe via trades and certainly during free agency when things kick off next week. The bell of the ball, certainly among defensive tackles, appears to be ex-Eagle defensive tackle Milton Williams. Yeah. The Cardinals supposedly have interest. How do you see that market playing out? Because it's a match made in heaven with us here locally. Like Jonathan Gannon, Milton Williams, they have nobody a disruptor on that front four right now. Yet you hear other teams, whether it be the Patriots or the Vikings or the Panthers, like, how competitive is Milton Williams' market right now 4 days out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be competitive. And to me, Osa Odigizua getting done at $20 million per year sets the floor there for Williams. So I think it's going to be above that. I frankly, Osa should have been above that. I mean, if he was going to get tagged and you had his agent talking about how he was going to get tagged, if that's the case, he would have been tagged at 25 and you're doing a deal at 20. And that's what Jerry Jones banks on, and he got it in this case. The guys are willing to take less to remain with the Cowboys, so that's what Osa Odigizua did there. So to me, it's going to have to be above that. I know that there is the connection. We talked about it in Indy with Milton Williams and being the first guy that Jonathan Gannon had drafted when he was with the Eagles. So I think they're in that ballpark. He does do some similar things to what Justin Jones does. So you wonder if maybe they look at it and say, well, we'd have to move one of those guys off of where he is. To me, you can never have enough guys up front that can create some havoc up front. So I know how committed the Cardinals are to improving the front. There are now multiple guys with connections to Gannon. When you loop in Josh Sweat as well, there is some questions about Sweat and his knee and whether that's going to hurt his market. And now Javon Hargrave as well, who's going to be released by the 49ers, which I always thought when they signed him that deal was just, I thought they overspent on that one. So now you're seeing them get to the point where we got to release Javon Hargrave. And I know what Gannon thought of Hargrave the last year that they were together in Philadelphia and the way that he was playing. So perhaps he'd be an option at a much lower price because of where he is in his career right now.
Let me ask you one more follow-up as far as Milton Williams goes. And it was a conversation we had on this show yesterday, but the connection of Milton Williams with Clutch Sports and now the new GM overseeing the football department is former Cardinals GM Steve Keim. Do you anticipate any kind of, fallout or bad blood between the two sides that could prohibit maybe the Cardinals getting in with some clutch players?
No, I don't. And it's the individual. I mean, Milton Williams is his agent's going to be Rick Roberts, is the guy that's going to do the deal. And it's business in the end. I mean, I've long since learned that when it comes to this time of year, it's the money. that determines the I mean, listen, it's the money. And then if it's close, then it's the other considerations as well. But I don't see that one being an issue at all with the Arizona Cardinals dealing with clutch at all. They've got a number of agents there. They've got a lot of clients. In the end, it's all about the business and what's right for the client.
Let's keep it on the theme of ex-Eagles with connections to JG. Hassan Reddick had a tough year with the New York Jets. You talk about Sweat probably commanding a premium. There's some question marks about his durability. Reddick, could there be an opportunity there, Mike, to do maybe a 1 to 2 year prove-it deal to kind of recap or reset his value? Or, I mean, what's the perception of Hassan Reddick within the NFL landscape right now?
Recap, reset, I think is the right phrase. Prove it, not so much, because just aware. I mean, he has proved it in the past what he can be. You know, he's not the full repertoire, and this is the problem. This is why his market value and what the Eagles were willing to do when he wanted to get the deal redone again. A lot of teams don't see him as the full repertoire kind of guy. It's more of he can come off the edge with some speed there, but he's not a 5-tool pass rusher / run defender / you know what I mean? So, you know, I think this is going to be a reset. I think you've seen him throughout the course of his career. If it's not right, it's wrong, right? The way the Cardinals used him the first couple of years, he just really never felt right. And all of a sudden they move him into a pass rushing role. And now they tapped into the potential that was there. And then it was to Carolina. And then it really took off kind of from there. And then last year, just everything from a business standpoint. And by the time he came back, it's just he could never get his feet underneath him. He should have been in there from the jump, should have tried to work out the best possible deal from training camp with the Jets, even if he wasn't practicing. Decided not to go that route and just never got around to it. So, yeah, it's going to have to be some kind of incentive-laden deal is the way that I would call it probably. It'll be a 1-year deal with the ability to earn up to, let's say, around $10 million in that ballpark based on some incentives, kind of like they sort of did in the end last year with the Jets. So we'll see which way it goes for Reddick in that department. But I do think there's some value if you get him at the right price and get him in early, get him feeling good, and put those carrots in front of him in the form of those incentives.
You know, analytics has kind of bumped up the need and I guess the value of interior offensive linemen the last couple offseason. Robert Hunt went over the $100 million mark last offseason, and you saw some other lucrative deals there. And now you're seeing Trey Smith. It's franchise tag. He's going to get a big-time deal from the Chiefs. Joe Thuney moves to the Chicago Bears in a surprising deal yesterday. So that kind of leaves like Will Fries as the top guard on the market, it looks like. Arizona Cardinals have a need at guard if we get up past the JG guys and the defensive front 7 players. You look at that need. What would it take to get a guy like Will Fries on this team? Or should we look, maybe lower tier free agents at that position?
Yeah, a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of money to get them, that's for sure. And there are some guards out there who have maybe played their best football, but you look at it and you say, well, you could still get some quality football out of these guys here. The Kevin Zeitlers, Brandon Scherf, I believe, is going to wind up. I don't think he's going to play anymore. I think he's going to retire. That's what I'm hearing out of him. Mekhi Becton is the interesting one. Mekhi Becton's a real interesting one because he reset himself. Philadelphia has been the right place for him in a lot of ways. Jeff Stoutland really tapped into him and got him feeling good after just a disappointing couple of years with the Jets up there. There is top line potential there. I thought he was going to get enormous money. I don't think it's going to come in there, but he'll get a nice sizable deal that he earned. The question is, does he want to stay in Philadelphia where he knows things have been great for him versus where they haven't been with the Jets and where they might not be wherever he goes in the next couple of years here. I'm looking over my list here. Will Hernandez is the disappointing one for me because he was playing so well.
Yeah.
And if he had stayed healthy, this would be where we'd be talking about. Maybe he already would have gotten it. The big extension for Will Hernandez, who earned it, but then he suffered that knee injury. I did see him at the Super Bowl. He's did some MMA training last year, which really helped his play, and it feels like it's helping his rehab. But it could be a little bit before Hernandez, and unfortunately, it's not going to be the deal that he would have gotten and would have deserved there. So we'll see. And Tristan Cologne's another guy out there. Tristan Cologne has got some interest from some teams to come in and potentially compete for a starting job somewhere. We'll see where he winds up.
Mike, we've been talking about it ad nauseum with our audience. Like, the Cardinals have the 4th most cap space in the NFL, and they're one of the few teams in the top 5 in terms of cap space that has a proven franchise quarterback that they're paying, which I think you could draw the conclusion that Well, that means they don't have a ton of great players on the roster they're paying big time money to. Is the overall perception ahead of free agency among the people you talk to is the Cardinals are poised to spend big money? Because we've heard that, but you've got to see them cross the finish line. They've never secured a Milton Williams atop a free agency board before. Like it has to be proven that it can be done.
Yeah. They're going to make some noise here. Absolutely. There's no question. They're going to spend. They're going to get better on both offensive and defensive lines coming out of free agency. I believe we're going to be talking about that. Maybe not the sexiest thing for the average fan who's looking for the skill position guys, although the skill position guys really aren't bringing it this free agency period anyway. So, you're going to see that. And they've got some guys now, which is a good problem to have, to start to think about re-upping some of the guys that you drafted, with Trey McBride certainly leading the way there and getting his payday eventually. So you're going to see that money start to be spent throughout the roster. I do believe that they're going to nose around some quarterbacks, not top level guys, but some guys to come in and just, add a little depth, add a little experience at the quarterback position, maybe even push Kyler a little bit. Would not be surprised to see them nosing around that market at the lower levels, because there could be some guys available as well. So I did hear to expect them to at least be, checking things out in the quarterback market. We'll see.
We had heard when Daniel Jones was released last season, that was somebody they kind of prodded around. I mean, that seems like somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Minnesota doesn't kind of bring him back, depending on what Darnold does.
We're watching that one. We're watching that one right now. Daniel Jones, I've heard his name connected with the Indianapolis Colts as well. Daniel's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, the Trey McBride thing you brought up, I mean, is that something that benefits the Cardinals potentially getting done between now and the tampering period opening, or is that just something that they can just kind of do it on their own timeline?
No, there's no rush to do it in that regard. I think you take your time and you do it at the right price. You do it early. I mean, because the price is only going to go up. And now you're seeing some of these guys that are available in free agency versus the team. I mean, look at even the Eagles and the Saquon Barkley extension was, I think, a stroke of genius because of the impact that it's going to have throughout the locker room. And you saw it on social media with some of these guys immediately, the love that they have for Saquon, the appreciation they have for him. You've got running back deals coming up now, right? James Cook is going to do one. Kyron Williams is going to do one. And these guys are going to come in at, 16 and above. For Saquon Barkley, if you take the two deals and you put them together and you average them out, it averages out to about 16 per year. So the Eagles are looking at it saying, well, we got him for below market value last year. It's only a matter of time before he goes, oh, wait a minute. I deserve to be up with these guys that are now leapfrogging me and leapfrogging even Christian McCaffrey. So you do it before that happens. And Howie Roseman has done a great job of that. I know that the Cardinals and Monty Austin-Fort have an understanding of that as well. And Trey will get his money. It could be any time between now and, the end of the spring. If you want to do it really early, I would advise doing that even into training camp, but certainly before week 1.
Mike, Cardinals don't lack weapons, but they do lack experience at wide receiver. We had heard that they are going to kind of peruse around the veteran receiver market. And then yesterday, kind of a big occurrence, Christian Kirk released, not unexpected.
Yeah.
Cardinals could potentially upgrade at slot receiver. Of course, he's got familiarity with Kyler Murray's from Chandler, right? Mm-hmm. I do think Kirk's market is going to be bigger than maybe people anticipate. He's a good player. The receiver market depends on who you're talking to, leaves a lot to be desired. Like, what do you make of a potential Christian Kirk reunion in the desert?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are, you say a lot to be desired. There's a lot of free agent veteran guys that are available that you're not getting them in the prime of their careers, obviously, but whether it's DeAndre Hopkins available, Amari Cooper available, Christian Kirk as well, and the Kirk one, he went out and got his money. And I'm sure it's going to be important for him to now compete, right? Because he hit it big at a time where we thought that contract was ridiculous. A lot of people did at the time. And it turns out you saw where the receiver market went after that. So I would expect that, looking for a place that he's comfortable, also looking to compete as well. Would be interesting to see him back with the Cardinals. We're talking about, whether it's Reddick or Kirk, guys that have been there before, certainly love the lifestyle of living out there. Mm-hmm. That's a draw. I always talk about the money, but when you get these things where they can kind of break the tie. And I do think a lot of, I've had this discussion with, agents and the like, who are going to be in control of where things go the next couple of weeks here in free agency. They do see the Cardinals as a team on the up and now using free agency to fill in those holes to make themselves now become a playoff roster, a team that is ready to compete right now.
We talked to Cam Scadaboo in Indy. He said he's going to make a facility visit with the Cardinals, but of course he's in state. He went to Arizona State, so it's not going to cost him a top 30. Your colleague Tom Pelissaro said Shamar Stewart expected to go. Any other kind of top 30 visits that are materializing for the Redbirds?
We're so locked on free agency now. It's
All
like if you hear, like I heard one for the Cowboys today or whatever. I said I'll get to that. Remind me after free agency. We'll put that one out there. So we'll see. Now the Scadab. Now you say he's inside the area. But if you have him on the local day, it doesn't count. But then you can actually, I've had this before, say, oh, that guy doesn't count. No. We made it an official 30 visit. So you can get him in on a different day and you can go through the full thing with him. So I don't know how they're planning on doing that. I will clarify and get that answer for you before I'm on with you guys next time.
That's great. That's great.
Mike, real quick before we get you out of here, do you feel like with Dallas, Micah Parsons, after seeing that Max Crosby deal yesterday, like, are they set up to be in a position maybe like Cincinnati where they potentially have to deal Micah Parsons? Or do you feel like Jerry's going to eventually get that done?
I'm greater than 50-50. He eventually gets dealt. That's where I am.
He gets dealt or gets done?
That he gets dealt, traded. Wow. Until you convince me otherwise. And there just hasn't been enough action on their part. And having talked to all the people involved in the world, this is already starting to go the way that we thought Max Crosby was going to be first. Then it was going to be, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and everybody keeps saying that Parsons is going to be last. So there's no rush on the Cowboys' part, and there's no rush on his part, and they haven't had any. But if there's not, right, and you're starting to sense like, when are you going to try to get this done? To me, it's still the other option being available, and I know that they've tried to poo-poo it and downplay it or whatever. But to me, I'm looking for the potential for Micah Parsons to potentially be part of the trade market as we go along here.
Last little thing. Can you give our audience a little insight on what your day starts to look like come the tampering period?
Yeah. By the way, Christian Kirk is he just got traded to the Texans. So yeah.
Wow. So not
I'm on with you. Yeah.
But traded. Okay.
So there you go. So he's off the board. So he's not coming back there. Yeah. What was the question?
Just what's your day? What's your morning? Like when you
probably looks a lot like that, Bo.
Yeah, ramp up for tampering period. I mean, is it you just lock yourself in your office and just?
It's a lot of but I also have to figure out dinner for these kids tonight and what the heck we're going to do there. And we've got a show tonight, NFL Network, the Insiders every night at 7 p.m. So we'll see how this goes. If I'm able to kind of stay upright, because you get tired, you're waiting up for some calls that you think might come when you're going to bed. It's a lot of also like, hey, check on this. I hear this is close. And you call, no, it's not, so it's a lot of those calls for that little moment of glory where it finally comes together.
Unbelievable insight from our guy, Mike Garafolo. He gave you everywhere you need to find him. Of course, 7 o'clock. Is that Eastern time for the Insiders? But of course, you can find it on your socials. Follow Mike Garafolo on Twitter. Unbelievable. His first official visit here with us on PHNX Cardinals. Can't wait to do it again, Mike.
We appreciate you, Mike.
Thanks for having you.